Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
You're now going to be looking at Facebook, if you're on Facebook, to see Josh Hoffman, and we are going to be talking about CBD oil. So, Josh, that was wonderful that you got here. I know you're a busy guy. You're with a new company, and you're the master, as far as I'm concerned, of CBD oil, really. And I appreciate your being so helpful to come in and tell everybody at this holiday season what people should be doing.
You should be relaxing and taking a break. Usually around the holidays, it's the most stressful time of year, and I'm kidding. You should be celebrating, spending time with family, but you should also be thinking about your health and how you're going to maybe change some things and habits in 2019. And if you are suffering from certain symptoms from a variety of conditions, then we do have products that can help you move into the new year more pain-free, less anxious, and just with a lot more vitality in your life.
Okay, Josh, so I'm going to let you tell everybody about my doggie and what happened, because it's a miracle. That's that movie, Miracle on 34th Street?
Yeah.
It's a miracle in Charlie.
Charlie, the beautiful dog who has been with ANITA for so long. When I first met Charlie, what a beautiful dog. But the thing that I noticed most was Charlie's little tail was missing a lot of hair, and it looked like a little rat tail for such a beautiful dog. And ANITA had asked me about hemp CBD oil. Do they make some for pets, and would it potentially help just overall with the dog? And I said, absolutely, let's just give it a shot. And she wasn't even thinking about, hair is going to grow back on the tail. It was more just like for anxiety and just calming and maybe some pain and arthritis. And then lo and behold, as ANITA kept giving Charlie the dog hemp oil, Charlie started growing hair back on Charlie's tail, and now Charlie has a proper dog tail.
And you know what it is? I take 2 drops and put it on a little cookie he gets at night, and he just gobbles it up, so he doesn't even, I guess, taste it or anything. It's
wonderful.
I'm really happy about that, and it's funny because some people have said to me, well, if I take it and put it on my head, am I going to get hair?
I would have known already if it worked. It doesn't. No, there's no promise that if you rub hemp oil on your scalp that hair may regrow. but
Josh,
give it a try.
Say what you did about animals, why they're so much more
Yes, every vertebrate has an endocannabinoid system, and it just so happens that dogs, canines, have the most cannabinoid receptors out of any vertebrate on the planet. So it's no wonder why they respond so well when they have a hemp CBD product, whether they're, eating it in a dog chew, or like you give it to Charlie sublingual in the food or on the cookie, like you say. As long as it gets in their system, it's going to benefit them some way or another.
So, Josh, how would you give this to a horse?
Very carefully. With a horse, they typically spray it in their gums. It's a spray, so they'll spray it on the horse's gums, or there's something called crumble, and crumble is something that they can put in their grain, in their oats, in their hay, so as they eat that, they consume the hemp. And so it's very, very good for, horses can be very anxiety, very stricken with anxiety and very skittish, so it helps to calm them down.
Well, so you first got involved in this how many years ago? Because I always look to you as the person that knows more than anybody I've ever met on this.
Well, I appreciate that. I learn from people that know a lot more than me, so they make me look good. But little over 3 years ago, I got involved, and it was just from a personal experience. I was going through some severe pain from spinal stenosis, herniated and bulging discs. Never had a symptom in my life before that day, and then couldn't get up out of bed, and I was looking for a natural alternative, and thank God somebody led me to CBD. 5 days later, my pain was gone. I thought it was a placebo, and then when it didn't come back, I figured I better start figuring out what it was that I took so I could tell everybody on the whole planet about it.
Okay, so now the one question that people always ask me, well, how much do I take? I don't know what to take.
It's a very good question, and people are different, obviously. Everybody has an endocannabinoid system, us humans, and we all have these cannabinoid receptors, but our receptors are shaped a little bit differently from person to person. So it means that the molecules or the cannabinoids in the hemp cannabis plant are going to impact people slightly different from person to person. We typically recommend a dose based on A, what the condition is, and the symptoms, and how high, if it's, let's say if it's pain, or if it's depression, or if it's anxiety, on a scale of 1 to 10, where does that fall? And then we'll typically make some recommendations, but standard dose, typically 0.50 ml twice a day, depending on, you know, the strength of the milligrams in the bottle. That could be anywhere from, you know, 10 milligrams up to 66 milligrams and even more per 1 ml per serving. So, but 0.50 ml, typically on an average of 10 milligrams to 15 milligrams a day, is a good maintenance dose and good for addressing maybe anxiety, a little bit of aches and pains and the like.
And so how soon would it start working? Let's say someone comes in, as you said, you had some pain. Would it be a few days, or could it be a week or two?
It could be a matter of hours. It could be a matter of days. It could be a couple of weeks. It's an accumulation factor as well, and everybody's different. The good thing about the hemp is that you cannot OD on it. It does not make you high. You do not get euphoric. You stay lucid. You can do your job. So, experimenting with the right amount is a safe thing to do. If after, let's say, a week to 10 days of taking a certain dose, 0.50 ml, a couple of times a day, you really are not experiencing any benefits or a reduction of your symptoms, it's your job to go and take a little bit more. 0.75 ml would be the next stop on the dropper, and then after 0.75 would be 1 ml. So you're tinkering, right? There's no silver bullet, so it takes a little practice, and we are happy to help people that have any kinds of dosing questions or any questions about that. We can help them out, no problem.
And when I have seen you before and you were selling certain kinds of things, I did notice something called Gummies, and some people, though, were taking them like, popping them like they were candy, and I could think that wouldn't be the best thing to do.
Gummies, you have to have discipline with the gummies because they taste so good. They're organic, all natural. Cane sugar is the sweetener, so nothing artificial or no chemicals about it, but they are very, very tasty. They can range anywhere from 5 milligrams to 25 milligrams, and even though they look like a candy, they're medicine. It's good medicine. So you want to maybe just take a couple and hang out and see how you feel. And if you happen to knock 15 back really quickly, don't worry. Nothing's going to happen. You'll probably just feel really good.
Okay, and there are. Why don't you go through some of the various kinds of ways? Like I have the little bottle for Charlie.
Yes.
Tell us all the different ways that people can buy CBD oil.
Be happy to. And this is an important question, Anita, because there are many form factors of hemp CBD oil, and not every form works best for the same people. So, maybe somebody does really well with a capsule. What you need to know about a capsule is that it's going to take at least 60 to 90 minutes to get into the bloodstream, and then you can expect about a 9 to 12 hour window of potential coverage, right? Versus, let's say, a tincture like we give to Charlie on the cookie or under the tongue. A tincture, whether you're a pet or a human, takes about 15 to 25 minutes to get into the bloodstream, and then you have about 3 to 6 hours of potential coverage. The quickest form factor is inhalation. A lot of people call it vaping. This is not e-cigarette type of vaping with propylene glycol and nasty additives in the formula. It's just pure hemp CBD oil and terpenes and MCT oil. So when you're inhaling, you're not burning anything. You're just vaping it, heating it up hot enough to turn it into water vapor. So in about 1 to 3 minutes, it's in your system. So that's the quickest time to onset through inhalation, but it's also kind of relatively quick in the support, about 1 to 3 hours. There's topicals as well, which you can rub on your skin, which can be very effective for localized pain. Takes maybe about 15 to 20 minutes to penetrate, and then you can get up to 5 hours of relief. Those are most of the form factors, and besides the gummies and things that you mentioned.
Well, I have soap.
Soap, yes.
I have soap, and I wash my face and everything with my soap, and and it's, it seems to be fine. Really, it's very nice.
It leaves the skin feeling really soft.
It does.
Yeah.
It's soft and it seems to be okay, and I'm enjoying it.
I think what we're going to start to see is CBD in everything. I mean, people who are, watching the news know that Corona, is investing in, cannabis companies. Pepsi and Coca-Cola are looking at that from a beverage standpoint. So this is not a fad. It's not a trend. It is going to be a continued way of life, hopefully forever and ever after.
Let's talk about the growing of hemp. Can anyone grow hemp? People laugh about having some marijuana in their backyard.
Yeah.
But what conditions does a hemp plant need to really do well?
Well, another great question. There are two ways that, let's talk about the cannabis dispensaries in Florida, which, by the way, stand to make about $250 million by the end of this month for entire 18. So last year, medical cannabis dispensaries generated about $40 million in sales, and in 12 months later, $250 million. So we're on a rocket ship. The way that these people typically grow is mostly indoors because you can control the environment, and that's really what's most important when growing a cannabis plant. Humidity, light, temperature, moisture, just to name a few. I won't go into too much detail.
So it's greenhouse growing.
Yes, because if they do that in an outdoor grow, which they do, they kind of say, we're just letting Florida do Florida. They can't control anything. So mold, moisture, they can try to mitigate that, but they're literally letting nature kind of do its thing with the cannabis plants. So that's why most cannabis and even hemp farms, if they're going to run year-round, which most of them want to, they'll have an outdoor grow season when the weather is really, really nice, and they do control lots of the, factors that contribute to a healthy growing plant. But indoors is when they move everything inside when the weather gets cold, or they're always having the indoor grows, 24/7, 365 days a year, and they are controlling it with the most sophisticated computer equipment and software that measures the water down to the drop, quite frankly.
So now you're talking about hemp, or you're talking about marijuana?
It's the same plant.
Okay,
Great
so
question.
Why don't you
Cannabis
tell
and
everybody
hemp.
what that
I
is?
kind of baited you, and you took the bait, Anita. It was beautiful. Cannabis, hemp, they're the same plant. The genus is Cannabis sativa L. Kind of semantics kicks in, and it goes like this. When the cannabis plant grows, if it has high THC, it's typically called marijuana, pot, weed, ganja, whatever adjective or name you want to attach to it. When the cannabis plant grows and it has very low THC, it's called hemp. So there is no difference between cannabis and hemp as far as the cannabinoids, the medicinal molecules in the plant go. No difference whatsoever.
So how do you control what you're growing?
Good question. You have to have the right seeds, okay? So certified agricultural hemp plants. That means that when they grow, they are already legal because they have below the federal permissible amount of THC. Any hemp products that are being derived from cannabis, meaning high THC that they are extracting out, that is actually illegal still. So unless you are getting your hemp CBD products from plants that are certified agricultural hemp, you are using an illegal product, and the people that are manufacturing them are breaking the law. Make no mistake.
Well, I had someone who was applying for an executive position, and he's had a lot of pain, but he's been afraid to take even the CBD
Yes.
because he's afraid it would show up.
Positive.
Does it?
Listen, this is such a good question, and you want to pay attention, especially for those people that are using CBD or thinking about using CBD, and you may be taking a drug test soon. Anybody that claims that it will not show up on a drug test should not be in the business. Now, there's a very good chance that it won't, but we don't take chances when it comes to our income and our livelihood and our ways to make a living. So the simplest solution is you get THC-free hemp oil. It has all of the other cannabinoids and the medicinal benefits that a full spectrum product would have, minus the THC. So there is no way possible that you can test positive for THC. And just to be clear, when you go for the drug test and they're looking at your sample to determine whether you're using drugs or not, if it comes down to cannabis, they're not looking at CBD. They're looking for THC. And again, to keep this legal and over the counter, the THC cannot be more than 0.3%, 0.3%. So in some people, it would probably never show up, but in others it may, so we just have to be careful.
But the CBD absolutely has nothing.
CBD has nothing. It's non-psychoactive, and if somebody tested positive because some employer just got the idea is let's be clever and test for CBD, well, it's a legal molecule. You're not breaking any law. It's not a controlled substance, so there's nothing your employer could do to discriminate against you. THC would be a different thing if you tested positive for THC. That's a whole different game.
Well, I know that you have really been specializing in the CBD, but let's jump over to the marijuana now plant and talk about the doctors. In order to get this, you do really have to have a doctor prescribe it, don't you?
Yes, that is correct. So really the only difference between medical cannabis and the hemp CBD products is the amount of THC that's allowed in the product. Remember, 0.3% THC, that's the limit to keep it legal and over the counter. If it's going to be stronger than that, you have to be a dispensary if you're selling it, a license from the Department of Health, Florida. And if you are consuming it, then you must be a patient, and that does require qualifying condition or conditions that can be substantiated, and a board-certified MD who is eligible to recommend medical cannabis. When you have those two things, then a person can qualify for medical cannabis in the state of Florida.
And so those doctors that are able to prescribe, do they have to take a course so they know what they're doing?
They do. Yeah. I'll be careful of how I say this.
Right.
But to be truthful, medical doctors will be the first people to stand up if you ask them, did you learn anything about cannabis in medical school? They're going to be like, absolutely not. And it's still like that today, although things are changing, and you're going to see, and doctors are seeing, continuing medical education courses where they can get their credits for CME about medical cannabis and about hemp CBD. So times are changing. But what the physician is required to do is A, pay the state, because the state's going to make a little bit of money, and then B, read a 14-page syllabus on the registry. In other words, how does the website that manages the patient work? Then they have to answer a 20-question multiple-choice exam and pass it with a score of 80% or higher. Once they do that, they are now eligible to recommend medical cannabis. And that's really it. So,
well, we have quite a few people watching this.
Good.
And, yeah, that's good. They're listening and they're learning. So, I did hear something that the tobacco companies now are jumping into this because
ma'am.
They want to make money and they shouldn't be selling tobacco, right? So is that happening?
Philip Morris, you'll see one day you'll go into 7-Eleven and you'll say, give me a pack of Philip Morris, joints or whatever they'll call them, whatever. But yeah, that's happening. It's going to happen because first of all, tobacco is not a profitable crop really anymore for farmers especially. And farmers need to make money too. So one thing that did just happen, which people may have heard or may not, so let me put it out there, the 2018 Hemp Farm Act has passed. The Senate, the House, Congress, everything. It just needs the president's signature, and what that will do is it will completely remove hemp from being glommed in with cannabis, the controlled substance THC, which is a Schedule I illegal substance. So any doctors, any chiropractors, anybody in the medical profession that was maybe on the fence about, I really want to introduce my patients to this product, but I'm just nervous or concerned about what the implications are legally in my office, it is a moot point moving forward, folks. So let's get with cannabinoid therapy. I will be happy to come to your practice or anywhere to educate you on what cannabinoid therapy is. And let's start healing people and making them feel better.
So let's give people a way to contact you. I haven't gotten that down, so tell me how they would.
You can contact me at area code 561-558-3239. That is my personal cell phone. If you call, just say, ANITA sent you, so I can take extra special care of you.
Right. So that's 558-3239, and it's area code 561.
Correct. That's
and
right.
And it's Josh Hoffman is our expert, and we've dealt with Josh in many times. He's written articles for Boomer Times. He's very respected. He's very knowledgeable, and I've had all my questions usually always answered by him when I, and ask. And there are more, I would call not seminars, but little expos around with all these people.
Yes.
So everybody, what's different when they're there? What do they do that's different?
That's a good question. I mean, of course I'm biased about my company and,
Right.
the way that we do things, but the most important element is education. It's not products, it's not, how good the doctor looks or what their degrees on their wall are. It is education about the human endocannabinoid system, your CB1 and CB2 receptors, and how the molecules or the cannabinoids in the cannabis plant can interact with these receptors to, hopefully reduce symptoms from a broad range of conditions: anxiety, depression, Crohn's. It's not, nobody can ever make the claim that it will cure them.
Yeah, it's
Again,
not a miracle.
if they say that, just want
Right.
to walk out of the store.
Yeah.
It's about treating the symptoms of those conditions and hopefully reducing them so that daily life becomes more manageable.
Yeah, and I have heard many doctors recently that I've said to them, especially chiropractors, are you selling the CBD oil? Well, I know it's good, but I'm nervous about it. Just what you had said. That
Yes.
Now, when will, you said that President Trump has to sign this, and do you think there's a problem with
Hopefully
his doing
before the
that?
holidays. No, I don't think so at all. And Ron DeSantis, who became the governor, he is pro cannabis. So I think Rick Scott was really not. Even though I think he says he was, but he wasn't.
Oh, yes, because there are very
Ron
strict laws in Florida. But now that has that been relieved?
Yeah.
Yet?
Well, with the passing of this law and the signing of this law, I mean, it's a whole new ball game, and you are going to see a lot more competitors out there. And just people. What it also means? People, be careful, because it means there's going to be a lot of junk flooding the market as well.
That's very important. I have been told that too, that China and foreign countries will want to get into this, Turkey, and also you have to be very careful to find out where it is being grown, correct?
Absolutely. The biggest thing one can ask, it doesn't matter whether you're coming through me or you're in a store somewhere and you're purchasing CBD, before you buy it, what you want to ask is, does that manufacturer or that store have third-party lab certificates? Sometimes they're referred to as certificates of authenticity, COAs. But if they don't, leave the store, because how do you know what you're putting in your body? You don't. You don't know if it's an illegal product. Maybe it has more THC than the legal limit. That will definitely show up on your, drug test if you take it. So yes, always want to make sure that they have third-party lab certificates that they can show you before you purchase the products. That's it.
Now, is there an age of how young can you give this to a child? Has that come up yet?
Yes. I mean, because we have, parents that, of course, are concerned about their children, ADD, ADHD, getting in trouble at school, and, you have to be careful. The gummies are really what we find to be the best for, younger people, but, it's really on a case-by-case basis. As long as the parents are engaged and the doctors are okay with it, we're okay with it too, but we do not sell to anybody under 18 years of age. If they just showed up, by themselves and we were curious what their age was, we would make sure they were at least 18 years old before we sell it to them. But, under parent supervision, we have children as young as, how old was she? 16 months.
Because they have an illness that nobody can figure out what to do about, right?
Intractable seizures. And the parents were just at the end of their wits, had given the baby at 16 months almost every medicine that they could, and sometimes they would look at her and she was blue. She wasn't getting circulation. And they just said, forget this. They're going to try hemp, and they understand the risk versus the reward, and they don't care, and they recognize that maybe they could go to jail, blah, blah, blah. That baby is doing a lot better, and it's about a year and a half. She's about a year and a half old now, and the seizures went from very high frequency to very low frequency. So it's just that instance right there. Can't say that that would be the same for everybody else, but in that particular instance, it made a world of difference to the family and to the baby.
I'm sure that's true. And if we get a little historical, we can really say that hemp has been used for ropes. I know that I have hemp protein. I have hemp, I call it hemp protein. Something else I put in my
hemp seed.
Hemp seed.
Yep,
I do. So hemp has been around. It's just not
a lot longer
in this
than we
form.
have. That's right. It's a new conversation about a really, really old plant that's been around, for millennia, that has been used through the generations by indigenous tribes and
witch
all
doctors,
over.
Right?
Witch doctors. That's right. That's right.
They used to call this witch doctors, but they knew what they were doing, right? And so, people, if you're interested, you really ought to look up hemp, look up CBD, and call Josh Hoffman at 561-558-3239. And thank you, Josh, so much. We always are so glad to have you share all your knowledge.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I always look forward to coming and joining you and your guests out there in the digital universe and on the radio, and appreciate everybody being there. So happy holidays.
Yep, happy holidays to you too.
All right.